Hello and welcome back to the Project 7890. In this episode we're going to talk about some of the modifications I've made to the bike since I've had it from new. A little bit of background, I've had this bike since 2019, so it's almost 6 years, and in those 6 years I've learned what works and what doesn't work. So if you're interested in doing some modifications on your 790 or 890, stick around and we'll go through what I've done. Okay, thanks for sticking around. To my friends, this bike's known as Trigger's Broom. It's a UK reference, you maybe have to Google it to find out what it is. Basically, this bike is not what it was originally. In 2019 I bought the bike new, and since then it's constantly evolved with changing stuff. It's also had a road traffic collision, so there's a whole new front end on it. I've also broken a swing arm, so it's had a new back end on it. I've changed out the suspension, I've changed multiple parts on it, and it is basically now hardly anything on it is OEM. In the last few episodes you'll have seen the fact that I did an engine swap on this bike, so it's now running an 890 Duke R engine. Everything's running fine. If you want to see that series, click up here. It'll take you to the playlist and that will show you what we've done. There's 6 or so episodes of it. Okay, just to go through, obviously you've heard me, I've said I've owned the bike since new 2019. One of the first things I ordered was the rear rack. This rack is by Perron Moto, who are based out in Eastern Europe somewhere. I think it's, is it Slovak? Is it a Slovakian, I think, company? If you Google them, you'll find them. Really good service, delivered quickly. This rack's been bounced off the ground a few times. It holds quite big bags and things like that. It's currently sitting with a Krieger OS, I think it's an OS 6. Which just contains first aid kit tools and stuff, so that's kind of what's usually on the bike day to day, and that's kind of held in well. You can see that it does have an option. There's a couple of bars here to have your grab handles here, but to be honest, because the grab handles come around this way, I was always worried about catching them on something, so that's why I've taken them off. But generally this is pretty robust, and you've got plenty of places to grab it if you need to lift the bike out of anywhere, which has been happened on occasions. So that was one of the first modifications. Okay, next up is kind of the handlebars. Big thing for me was to change these out fairly quickly after getting the bike new. I swapped over to a Renthal flat bar. This is 827 bend. I think it's known as the Villapoto bend, but the main reason is it has a big control area, so you can run controls. I think it's 222mm either side, so you've got plenty of room to add extra bits, especially if you're putting in a torque Bluetooth controller here for maybe a big tablet in the future. You definitely need plenty of control services. Attached to them obviously are the de Rigueur bark busters. These are just a standard fit tapered bar mounts. You can see they've been dropped on a few times. They're pretty robust. A little bit of emery paper cleans them up again, and they've been on the bike now probably 4 or 5 years. Vanache damper mount. I want to raise the bars up a little bit, so I thought, right, we'll do that. And at the same time I invested in a Scots damper. The reason being is that when we're riding some TET trails, I was expecting to need something a bit more than the standard damper, although that's maybe not the case, but it was a bit of bling. I think the dollar rate was quite good at the time when I bought it, so I got that direct from the States, and it worked out cheaper than buying it from the UK, even with taxes, etc. Above it is old school kind of quad lock mount. I haven't gone for the wireless charger, mainly because that's the only USB port on the bike, so as opposed to a phone charger, I can stick anything in there and charge it in my tank bike, so I tend to do that rather than the wireless charging, because the wireless charging literally limits you just to the phone, so that's why I do that. As we go across, usual bling, KTM bling you get off the power parts thing. This is a map switch for the old engine. Basically it's not really in use at the moment, it's just still fitted because I haven't decided what to do with the power commander. Going back here, obviously double take mirrors. I did have the older ones, but I just felt too long. They look like giraffes' ears, I think. But however, when I got these were a little short, so I put the extra mounts that come with them. So they're all mounted standard. It'd be quite nice to get these black anodized or something like that, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. Up front on the nav, it's the basic Garmin XT. I've had this since they basically came out. I had a 595 before it, but I just wanted something that could show tracks. And as you can see, the maps are all kind of there, so you can access your tracks, etc. We all know that. but that's really it. Good thing about this, you can tune into your music, you can control it from there, but I just tend to have the map running in the background just to see where I am and what I'm doing, but that's really it. Other mods are, this bike does have that mode. Hold on a sec, which one is it? It does have rally mode on it, so really handy when you get the chance to ride off-road. You can obviously get more control of your traction, throttle settings, etc. Throttle wise on this, I tend to use in rally mode off-road or street. The rally throttle is a little aggressive. It ramps up really quickly, and if you're going through bumpy terrain, you do struggle a bit to hang on to the bike. So that's really it for controls. I don't really know what else is there. Oh yeah, sorry, brake levers. I've got wee hands, so I invested in some Raximo levers earlier on, but I felt the Raximo levers were a bit flimsy. They're like an alloy, Chinese manufactured, but they were TÜV approved, came from Germany originally, but I had them on for a few years. But since I've got the RG ones, Raid Garage ones, they are basically almost an exact replica of the OEM shape here, and then just a shortened lever, but really nice lever, and obviously the brake lever is the same as well, and they fit onto the original clamps and stuff, or the original pivots. So this bit is OEM, and the actual bit you actually buy from Raid Garage is actually only the main lever bit. So it means it's all OEM, it all works fine. There's no compression of the grip and things like that. Speaking of grips, that's 6 years use, 35,000 miles ish, on a KTM heated grip, so they do last fairly well if you don't chuck it down the road or throw it on the floor. The throttle's less worn, obviously, because it's what I call it. Or it's less worn because obviously it twists a bit and things like that. However, when you buy these new, they are a wee bit rattly, and you can see that one's quite solid that way. So what I've done with the throttle on this, I've used a UK company called Race Torx, TORQ, I think is how they're pronounced, but I'll maybe put a link in the description. They supply just little 3D printed plastic shims. You've maybe seen them on the internet. Some people do alloy ones and things like that. But they really are good. They totally take the slack out of the throttle here, because when you get these new, it goes click, 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 click. I might have a video of that I can add in, but that takes all the slack out. So that's what I've done to my controls. So that's really a walkthrough. If you need to know anything more, just drop a thing in the comment, but you'll see that the bike's basically, it's set up for me with wee hands, and the fact that I like a straighter bar, and as you can see the bars are fairly straight. The OEM bar, if you just stand by, I'll get the OEM bar. So I'll try my best to sort of show you the difference in the bend. So that's the OEM bar, they're more or less parallel with it, and you can see how much it kicks back. Some people that might suit, however I prefer a bit of a straighter bar. It's probably a couple of degrees in there, but it does feel very different, and also puts your weight over the front wheel a bit more. Okay, just one thing I've mentioned with my Garmin mount, I've obviously got a Vinash GPS mount that's in here. Obviously Vinash were one of the first people to do the CNC'd aluminium mount for the 790 platform at the time. So that's been there since, geez, I can't remember, I think that was my first mount. In fact, no, I'll tell a lie, I did use an SW Motec mount, which was the pressed metal one, which was absolutely useless. No offense, SW Motec, but this holds the sat nav absolutely solid, and it's bolted in, obviously using the standard mount. You'll have seen maybe a little bit of paracord there. That's glued onto the back of the sat nav. I'll bring it around the other side actually, just to show you. Some people were worried about sat navs falling up, but I've just stuck like an electrical kind of cable tie holder thing for like running cables with a sticky pad. So I've just stuck that on with a bit of paracord, just in case it ever bounced off-road. But I do have a locking pin here with the Motomines mount for the Garmin, which is just like a special key which locks it in, and that holds it pretty solid. It means you cannot take it off an opportunist thief type thing. Maybe if you stop at a restaurant or whatever when you're out on the road, a cafe, petrol station, all of the above, it holds it pretty solid as well. So that's the mount for the sat nav. Okay, so that's the modifications I've made to some of the bike. We'll take you through some more in the next episode. So hopefully, if you've got any questions, let me know. I see that some of the 790 adventures that are going for a great deal at the minute with lots of KTM dealers. So if you have just bought a new one and you're not quite sure where you're at with it, don't be afraid to put something in the comments, ask a question. I've known these bikes for 6 years. I've had it in pieces and had it back together again, so I know them pretty intimately. Ask me a question, I'll help you as best I can. Other than that, keep riding.